If it looks like a wild grass but smells like an onion, you may have just found crow garlic, and it even grows in the dead of winter. Crow garlic is often called wild onion, and in some parts of the world can even go by the name wild garlic, showing how important the scientific name Allium vineale is to avoid any confusion with what we in the UK know as wild garlic, which is Allium ursinum. Crow garlic looks very similar to chives, but other than various wild grasses, chives is pretty much the only thing you could confuse this for. So it's a safe one for beginners if you check for the oniony smell, which all parts of the plant have, because no grasses or anything toxic that might look even remotely like this will have that oniony smell. In the south of the UK, it's most commonly found in grassland, I believe, but up north it's more common at the coast. In fact, it is apparently rare in northern Scotland other than the coast. You can also find it in parks, hedgerows, roadsides. I've even seen it growing among cereal crops. Where I am now is a little less common as a habitat, but shows it can grow almost anywhere, which is in a small woodland near a stream. It can be found most of the year to some extent, but specific parts do have narrower seasons, so it depends on which bit you want. The leaves and stems are best in winter and early spring, so that's what I'll be harvesting today, given it's currently late January. The leaves are green, but they do develop a slight blue tinge with age, and the ones down here are quite short, but they do grow into quite long, slender, hollow tubes, around 15 to 30 centimetres long, but they can get even longer, and about 2 to 4 millimetres thick, with a waxy texture with a bit of a groove on one side of the leaf. If you take a cross-section of a leaf, you'll find it's either cylindrical or crescent-shaped. They grow in these largely upright clusters, and all the leaves have a garlicky, oniony smell. Probably more onion than garlic, I'd say, but either way, this smell is a key identifying feature to ensure it's not just some kind of wild grass. In late spring, just after the leaves have died back, a flowering stem will appear. This will be about 50 to 80 centimetres tall, potentially, but it's far too tough and fibrous to be worth collecting and eating, so don't bother with that. Eventually, normally in early and midsummer, a flower head will form, initially covered in a papery sheath that falls away to reveal bulbils, which are like very, very small bulbs. There is at least one variant of this species that does produce actual flowers too. If it does, they'll be tiny white to pinkish flowers with 6 petals. Most types of crow garlic that I find just have the bulbils, which are like these tiny pointed seeds which can be sprouted and put into a salad, and sometimes they sprout anyway with these green thin filaments sprouting from the pointed tips of the bulbils. The underground bulb is about 1 to 2 centimetres in diameter with a fibrous outer layer. It's a bit like a very small miniature onion. In terms of using the leaves, they are available and at their best throughout the winter and in early spring, and they can be used just like you would chives. They have a taste best described as a cross between chives, onion and garlic, and they make a nice addition to the salad bowl. You can also snip them up small and sprinkle them onto hot potatoes with butter, or add them to omelettes or scrambled eggs on a cold morning. They add great flavours to stews and soups too, and I'm going to be chopping up a few of these later just to chuck into a pea risotto that I'm doing later, because the recipe called for chives, so I thought I may as well get my own and save myself about 50p. Big savings. Hey, I don't do this for the money. Anyway, after early spring, the leaves do tend to get a bit tough and fibrous to use, even though they are technically still edible, but they're just not very nice then. Crow garlic bulbils are best found and harvested around June to July. They're often touted as being a good substitute for garlic. They certainly have an intense garlic flavour, but some think it has an unpleasant aftertaste compared with the real thing. Nevertheless, they are nice to chuck a few into a salad to add a nice garlicky crunch. The bulb can technically be used as well, but remember you must have landowner permission to dig it up. If you do get permission, then you can chop them up and use them a bit like you would an onion. But remember, they are very small compared to an onion, but they do have a very strong flavour and smell, a bit like onion crossed with garlic. The whole plant does have a lot of medicinal qualities, like a lot of Allium species do, known historically and in traditional use for being anti-asthmatic, a blood purifier and a diuretic, amongst other things. It's also thought to reduce blood pressure, a bit like clove garlic and wild garlic do too, though I think it's the bulb that's best for that. So remember, you do need landowner permission to uproot this plant. The plant may also apparently help reduce cholesterol, help the digestive system and the circulatory system. Just a quick interesting fact to finish with, crow garlic is apparently resistant to most normal herbicides, because most herbicides can't cling well to the vertical, smooth and waxy structure of its leaves.